Welcome to Playing for Second. I'm Tim, and today we're going to have an unboxing for my latest P500 delivery from GMT Games, the Guerrilla Generation. This is a coin multi-pack 2. It's actually the second version in that volume, or second volume in that series. The first was called the British Way. I actually have some of the components and boards from that as a potential comparison as I open this up. To a certain degree, I'm not 100% sure what's in the box. I have taken a look online. I haven't seen a whole lot of coverage on it. So this is, again, one we wanted to get out for you guys to take a look at. So with that, join me at the table. All right. So here we're staring at the Guerrilla Generation. It's focused on Cold War insurgencies in Latin America. So I know 2 of these occur in Central America, 2 in South America. Right down here, El Salvador and Nicaragua, and then Peru and Uruguay. As you can see, same designer as the British Way with Stefan Rangazes, and the development, we've seen a little bit of a thread here with Joe Dewhurst. Starting to see his name as a developer on a lot of these, this game and others within the series. Just taking a look at the back of the box, you can see, I'll say, probably more traditional coloring on the maps from what we've tended to see in some of the other just coin series maps. The British Way went a little, I'll say, like there were still some drabs and some olives, but almost pastel in some cases. So again, interesting to see the dark color palette that they ended up using here. I'm very interested in these cards. These cards that are shown on the back here have a very, very different look compared to what we have tended to see with other coin games. So again, interested in taking a look at that. For those unfamiliar with the British Way or the Guerrilla Generation, we've got 4 different 2-player games in here. Each one has its own event deck. There are some MacGuffins within, and each one has its, it uses a similar model, but then a twist on the series. With this, it sounded like there actually were ways to play 2 of the games side by side. I believe it was the Central America one, so El Salvador and Nicaragua, basically side by side. Interested to see what that looks like as well. Sounds like these are a little bit more complex than ones that were found in the British Way. So yeah, looking forward to dig in. So yeah, right here, El Salvador 79 to 92, Nicaragua 81 to 90. Peru 80 to 92, and Uruguay 68 to 72. Again, slightly different, similar but different models within there. Complexity is a 5. I'm interested to see what that means. As for folks that aren't necessarily considered war gamers, which I would tend to put myself in there, GMT's complexity ratings tend to they tend to be a little low compared to what I tend to find when actually learning and trying to play the game. But again, some of that is just where where my gaming history and career has been, tending to be more in the on the Euro side of things. So with that, let's take a look at what is in the box. I'm going to guess it looks like we've got 2 double-sided boards. Looks like they're the 17 by 22 size. Let's take a look. So we've got our scenario book. Rules. Okay, so this is overall Guerrilla Generation scenario book. I am unsure what this one is. I'm wondering if this is the combination. I see that Reagan's Prestige. We see El Salvador down here, Nicaragua up here. I'm wondering if this is the scenario playing both of those together. All right, and then backgrounds of the cards as usual. So yeah, card by card, a little bit of information, historical information, and then also specific tips about when and how to use it. Yeah, as I was mentioning, you can see in some of the photos within the book, this is a very different looking style of card compared to what we have seen in some of the previous. I actually have some of the British way cards right here. I'd say much more functional. Let's see, I just happened to grab a propaganda. Let's see. So a much more functional style rather than the more stylized version with the I'll say art. I mean, it's limited art, but it's not just text on a card. So that's interesting to explore here. And as always, lots of again, behind the scenes or historical information about the game itself, and then also within the design. Always good for more information on the design, and then bibliography on sources about that were used in the overall just investigation and research of the game and the series. All right, so with that, looks like we're going to break up into the 4 games at this point. I'll move the box off to the side just a bit. So we've got Peru, Nicaragua, Uruguay, and El Salvador. And again, similar to British Way, we've got all four games basically having their own rule book. Now, again, a lot of similarities within each. That's another thing. The 4 games end up using a shared resource pool. So it's again kind of a neat situation where within that one package you can have just enough of the content to be able to play 4 similar but slightly different games. The initiative track, that was one thing I was going to mention some comparisons that I saw with some other games. So this whole first eligible, second eligible, and then this series right here, limited, op, event, and then op and special activity. We'll see that, I'm pretty sure, in all of the games and the boards as we take a look. So with those 4, I'll just put them off to the side. Let's take a look at some of the player aids, player mats. Okay, these are double-sided for use with the with all 4 games. Nothing too ridiculous or fancy there. It looks like just player mats for your pieces. Okay, this is okay, resisting Reagan scenario. Okay. Nope. This is new. This is new. I'm not sure exactly what we're looking at here. So this it looks like this is that it's all 4, but with a specific scenario. So I think this is outside of the normal or standard rule set. Again, just enough different. Looks like this one's going to require a little bit more jumping in and figuring out what's going on here. Pre-war options tables, political display. Interesting. Yep. Not used to this. I'm not again not positive exactly what I'm looking at. Very good. All right, this I would say is probably a little bit more standard with the idea of the propaganda round. That's pretty common language within the coin world, where it basically just goes through an end of round reset. Okay, so that was El Salvador, Uruguay, Nicaragua, and I'm sure Peru on the other side here. Okay, and now we're moving into the player aids. And I'm going to assume there's going to be, okay, 2 of them in here for each game. So here's the El Salvador on one side, FMLN on the other. So again, it's always good to be able to know what your faction is doing, but also what options or opportunities the other side's going to have. Looks, again, pretty standard, where we've got the operations on one side, special activities on the other. We were just taking a look at Vijay and Nagara, and with the Irregular Conflict series. It uses a similar style, slightly different names here at the top. I think that one is Command and Decree. Other game I was taking a look at, Just of Robin Hood. They had Plots and Deeds, but again, similar idea. Here are like your big actions. Here are almost like side or complementary, the special actions that you can do along with those. So yeah, first game with El Salvador here. We're going to have the Nicaragua and the Contras. Same idea. It looks in general we're seeing the four operations and 3 special activities. Peru and Shining Path. This is new to me. I'm not sure exactly what this raise and lower political will. I'm noticing it is on each of the, well, I just said that, and now I finally see one where it's not on the player aid, but all the other previous ones had that political will in there as a part of the of the player aid. So here we've got Uruguay and Tupamaros. Again, and as you can see, a lot of similarities in style, but boy, when you start looking into some of the specifics that you're seeing in these operations and activities, it does not look like it's necessarily doing all the same thing. All right, so here we're getting into the counters. You can see we've got some of the, I'll say the larger pre-rounded counters. And then down here we've got the smaller counters that we tend to get the corner rounder on those and kind of clean up the frayed corners. But yeah, the full size counters kind of love those. These, they tend to get a little fiddly, but again, with a game this size, I get you're not going to be able to have 1/2 inch 5/8 counters on everything. All right, so a little half a sheet and then a full sheet here. Starting to see control markers, and as you can see, there's different control. Well, I was going to say we've got different control markers there. Then if we flip on the back, okay, so this is basically by games. So this is the FMLN. And then we have the Shining Path here. I see the Unrest down here. It looks like there's 2 different versions of those. I'm going to assume that those are the 4 games. We've got one here, one here, one here, and one here. Then down here, pretty standard, especially the early coin with the Indian Abyss and Cuba Libre, the passive opposition, active opposition, passive support, active support. So you end up having that 5-point opposition to support track. Then we've got sabotage. I'm assuming on the back of that's terror. Okay, so yeah, pretty similar looking compared to some of the base coin games, Cuba Libre specifically. All right, and now we're getting into the 2 boards or the 4 maps. All right, let's take a look at the first one here. All right, so here's more of a landscape style map. And looking at the top here, we've got our track. It looks like it starts here. We've got a automatic victory for the government over here, and an FMLN automatic victory over here. We've got our control space, and we have our opposition / support space. And down here, this is the initiative track that we were talking about, where you've got the 2 eligibility and then this limited op event and op and special activities. So I've got, as an example, got the, this is Malaya, or the Malaysian map from the British way. Again, similar initiative track. That was something I started to see, that there were some similarities, basically just across the whole series. And then also, if we take a look over here, we have it's in this one it's vertical, but we have the in this case a 0 to 20 track, where the bottom 3 are the MCP auto victory, and then up here are the British, or in this case probably the government, what would be considered the government victory. Now another game that we saw that I was tending to see that model was Adjust of Robin Hood, and you can see down here similar initiative. See if I can zoom that in. So we've got our first eligible and second eligible down here. Single plot event, plot and deeds. Basically the same thing that we were seeing over here in the initiative track for a British way, and now for the Guerrilla Generation. And now here we have the order or justice track, where we start, I believe here, and again down here, victory for the sheriff. Up here, victory for Robin Hood and his folks. So yeah, so we're seeing some similarities across not only the coin multi-pack, but also into a regular conflict series. So one thing I don't know if it's specifically related, but again, we are seeing some names that are similar across many of the games and a couple of the series. So I'm not sure if that is following that exactly or not. But yeah, back to the Guerrilla Generation. So we have El Salvador here. This is, all right, taking a look at the map again, pretty standard from what we're used to seeing. We've got our legend up here. We have Honduras actually marked out as a terrain type. We've got highland department, lowland department, population values, got cities marked, and then the other areas and provinces. So yeah, we got Guatemala out of play, which at least from a map standpoint makes sense. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other. I believe it was Nicaragua was the one that would go side by side with this one. And we probably are going to struggle fitting this all on the screen. So I'm going to move it around a little bit just so you can kind of see some of the connections here. But overall, we've got Honduras to the north, El Salvador here, and Nicaragua down here with Costa Rica, and that's all making up that that key part of Central America. All right, let me slide this guy up so you can see it a little bit better. So the previous one, I saw there was a government posture track. So we have this reformist and rightist track. Looks like it's starts at 1 but goes from a 4 down here all the way up to a 2 on this end. Not at this point 100% sure how that affects the overall game. And then on this map and in this game, we've got the USA track. As we had talked, similar initiative track here. Now, in this one, we don't necessarily see the control and support spaces. We're just seeing, we have the provinces, we do have a city. It looks like they have population values. And I'm assuming these are potentially ports along the way. Not sure how they work into the overall game, but and also when I look at the top, this has a slightly different track. It doesn't look like there are auto win conditions on either end. It looks like it starts at 18, potentially with that automatic victory for Contra on the far left. But other than that, it looks like maybe a point degradation for the government. Looks like there's also a few different types of terrain on this one as well, as you can see by the colors. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the other side of the Nicaragua map. And here we are looking at Peru, so it's kind of the northwest side of South America. Hunt for Guzman. So we've got this Guzman track up here. Start over there all the way up to 4 and captured. Similar initiative track. Interesting. We've got current president. So I'm assuming that's another potential deck that transitions or changes over time throughout the game. And boy, significant. I don't know how I missed this. Significant Lima spot. I'm assuming that means we're probably going to see a lot of troops or a lot of pieces, just game pieces within that location, considering how big it is. And we're back to the control and support, which I think is similar to what we saw on the British way, where we had 2 of the maps that had this control and support model, and then the other 2 had more of a it didn't have those. It was more a game of I'll say area majority. So yeah, we're dealing with Peru, and we are also dealing with a 0 to 20 point track starting on 13 with auto victory down here for Shining Path and an auto victory for government there at the top. All right, that was Peru. Let's take a look at our last one, which I think is Uruguay. And this looks like, I would say this probably has the most plain art that we've seen out of any of the 4. Looks like it's very, very urban within the gray spaces. Oh, yeah, that's actually what they even call it. We've got urban and rural, and that's really it. We just have those two types of terrain, other than the strategic centers, what they're calling strategic centers. Prison box, I did see something about with this one where it had a prison mechanism to it. And then taking a look at the top, we see that again, this 0 to 20 still, but starting high and with a victory for, I'm assuming, the insurgents victory on once it gets to 0. This one also has another that extra track, in this case, public sympathy. All right, very good. Let's take a look at some of the cards that we're dealing with, and maybe some of the additional components. All right, back to the box. We've got bags, shockingly. All right, as usual, couple dice, just normal 6 sides. For here, we've got the pawns, which are usually used just to indicate where you are activating either your operations or special activities. And then I'm seeing a lot of the hexagon markers for both colors. Those tend to have in this case, stars on one side, and when you go to the other side, nothing. So usually, most games, that's indicating whether they're hidden or if they're revealed. Usually the components, when they're hidden, they aren't accessible for attacks. But again, not familiar with the rules on this one. Looks like, okay, so we've got our normal, I'll say taller cylinders that we tend to use for the initiative track. Also tend to use that for the, well, normally it's the initiative track and maybe the resources. I'm assuming that's what these are used for, is for the resources. Then we have the additional discs. Not positive what the discs are used for in these games. Then we've got the your normal cubes. Often there's just one or usually one, maybe 2 colors. It looks like we've got 4 or 5 different colors in here. Red, pink, blue, and black, maybe, or maybe that's dark blue. And often that ends up. Often what you'll tend to see is one of those. Usually the lighter, I believe, is representing police or just local law enforcement, and then the darker color tends to be more troops or more of a military presence. All right, and like I had said, boy, these cards have a very different look to them. Compared to, and again, the good and bad that we tended to see with British Way. Very functional, not very stylized. Easy to read, but for the most part, text on cards. When we take a look up here, it kind of gives a little bit of a, and I'm assuming this is what they were going after, kind of has like a newspaper headline aspect to it, or at least that's what it looks like to me. I'm assuming each of these is associated with one of the games. It looks like that's the case. So we've got Peru, El Salvador, and Nicaragua. So I'm assuming those are Uruguay. Let's go ahead and start with Peru and go from there. What do we see in these decks? All right, so what I am not seeing that I'm used to seeing is an initiative order. So often what you're tending to see is at the top of the card is a and I'm just taking a look at the British Way. They didn't have it either. But there's from a coin standpoint, or even the irregular conflict series standpoint, you'll have the initiative or markers for each of the factions, and you just work your way from left to right. And anyone who is eligible, go ahead and place that. That's why, because the initiative is done in the initiative track the first eligible, second eligible based on the previous round. So you don't necessarily have to put that on the card. Makes sense. So really the cards are just there for the events themselves. And like any of the cards, especially with a 2-player, it looks like one of them is good. The top part of the card is going to be more advantageous for one side, bottom part for the other side. Okay, so it looks like they brought in some of the complexity of some of the coin games that I don't know that I saw in the British Way games. So the capabilities, specifically here, this is SP. I'm assuming that's Shining Path. More the insurgent faction for this specific game. All right, so as we're getting into some of these, some of them are less artwork and more just the text or names and text, but pretty clear, very easy to read. I still like that stylized, almost like newsprint headline at the top. All right. And then here, the last 4, we've got 4 different propaganda cards. Looks like those are, I mean, these are different. They've got different actions or activities that are at the bottom of each of the cards. So that adds a little bit. It's not just your standard vanilla propaganda card. And that was Peru. Assuming we're going to see similar across all of the titles here. Now again, we've got the two boards that favor more the control and opposition, where the other 2 have a basically a different mechanic or mechanism. I'm assuming the card decks are going to lean into whichever that situation you're dealing with, or which game type you're dealing with. Okay, so here are again Nicaragua. Still the similar style within the card, where you've got the stylized newspaper print or headline. Somewhat larger, color photos on some of them. That's a nice touch. As I say that, here's a black and white one. Operation Urgent Fury overwhelms Grenada. All right, let's take a look here at the end. All right, so similar. Let's see, we've got, I'm only seeing 3 propaganda cards for this, and these appear to go back to more of that, like a standard propaganda card. There's no difference between those 3. I just wanted to make sure. 37, 38, and 39 wanted to go back to 36, and no, 36 isn't a propaganda card. So it looks like we've just got 3 in this game. Again, kind of a neat art with what appears to be a community poster on the card there, right under the propaganda. All right, that was Nicaragua. Let's take a look at El Salvador. Those 2 that we just went through, those are the shortest card stacks. So again, not sure exactly how the other ones lean into it. Those were in the, I believe, 30. Well, I know I didn't get the last one there. Looks like maybe 40 in the one and 38 or 39 in the other. This one has 53 cards in it. Similar style. And again, this is El Salvador. What were the years on this one? 79 to 92. So I think this was one of the later ones. I believe that's the photo on the rule book. Okay, pivotal event. I don't think we saw that previously. We saw, what was it, a capability, I think, that was added in there. So here we've got a pivotal event, playable if at least 2 cities that support. So looks like it has some requirements. There's the other side, the FMLN, playable if 16 plus guerrillas are on the map. And then a few capabilities, and looks like that different color card. Obviously something a little bit different with that. Interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that in one of these style games. The card type is Atrocity Exposed. And what I am not seeing here is a traditional propaganda card. So again, a little bit of a twist on the model potentially. I did see. So we've got those cards. These were those gray. The gray cards. It looks like that may be a different deck. Then we've got the this. It looks like this might be the main deck. I'm wondering if I look at the top here. Nope, just the those pivotal events. There we go. There are 3 propaganda cards. I slid right by them when I was looking at those special events, and this is another one where they are the generic, nothing special, basically the same card duplicated a couple times. But as we had taken a look, we've got these other 2 very small decks. What, maybe 6 cards in this one and 4 or 5 in this one? Yeah, 5 in this one. So again, different little spin on the system, adding a little complexity, but nothing too crazy. We're still dealing with what, maybe 45 cards, maybe even less than that in a deck. And then this the last one. This is Uruguay, or I'm assuming it is. I didn't see it on there, but it's the only one that's remaining. And when I take a look here, we've got CIA external support. Okay, there is Uruguay, but we definitely have some different types of decks here. So we've got CIA. Not sure what's going on there. We've got some regional events, which looks like it has its own deck. Central America Peace Movement, its own 10-ish cards, and then the Reagan administration with 10-ish cards there. Brand new, never seen these before. So interested to see how they fit into everything. So what was this? The regional events. All right, Central America piece. And then Reagan administration. Interesting. Very interested to see how these play into the you know, a traditional, basically a mini style coin game. Looks like the rest of these are your traditional card deck. 39 cards, 3 propagandas. These look like the generic propaganda. And then other than that, we're looking at pretty standard event cards. There's something going on down here. I'm not sure what the what that situation is. So we've got the event option for one faction, event option for the other, and then there's this other activity. Except when it says no effect. So not all of them have it. But other than that, yeah, again, pretty much the same or similar stylized approach on the card. And so far, I obviously haven't been able to play with it, but I kind of like the style of the font on the card. All right, so with that, that was looking at the card decks and the boards for all 4 games that come within the Guerrilla Generation, the multi-pack. As I've said before, this is a this is not a series that I have a ton of people to play with. Brian tends not to like the adversarial nature of these types of games, and Josh hasn't been drawn to anything close to the coin series or honestly a lot of GMT games. But I am running into a couple people at work, especially these smaller, what I'd say are almost like weeknight type games that again we can play. We'll probably play them on the weekend just from a time availability standpoint, but it's not a 6+ hour investment that a lot of folks tend to think of when they think of coin, or that 4 to 6 hours. So with that, hopefully this is an opportunity to get a couple of these 2-player ones to the table, and hopefully we can show you one here in the near future. But with that, I'm Tim from Playing for Second, and we'll see you next time.